I come to the Father, I come to the Son, I come to the Spirit, the three in one. I come to the water, just as...
Well, good morning. Welcome to Fridays with Francis. I trust that all is going well with you. It's good to be with you today. Hope we're heading to a great weekend. Got a lot of things going on in the world, don't we? Yeah, it's a time for God's people to be really engaged in prayer, no doubt. I wanted to tell you a story about a young lady by the name of Christine. Christine hadn't been married very long, and as a part of her wedding gift, her husband gave her a brand new car. It was a beautiful car, nice, beautiful convertible. She loved her car. And one day when Christine was driving her car, she was going through town and she made a sharp turn, too sharp for her to really be making, and she sideswiped another vehicle. An elderly gentleman was in that vehicle, and he veered off and ran into a light pole and damaged his car quite a bit. Well, of course, both cars came to a stop, and Christine was sitting in her car, weeping, of course, because she had caused the accident. The elderly gentleman walked over to her and said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" She said, "Yes, I'm okay, but my husband just gave me this car. We've just gotten married, and I know he's going to be so upset. I don't know how I'm going to break this news to him. I just know he's going to be upset." The gentleman said to her, Well, ma'am, if we could just exchange our information, I'm sure your husband will understand." And she said, "Well, what information do you need?" He said, "Well, I need to give you my insurance information, and you need to give me yours." And she said, "Well, I don't even know where to find that." And the man said, "Well, usually it's with your registration card." She said, "Well, I don't even know if I have a registration card." He said, "Well, usually it's kept in the glove compartment." Well, she reached over and opened the glove compartment, and there was her registration card. And clipped to it was the insurance information. And clipped to that was an envelope. And it was sealed. She asked the man, "Well, what is this?" He said, "Ma'am, I really don't know what that is. Perhaps you should open it to find out." Well, she slowly opened up the envelope, and in the envelope she found a handwritten note. And she opened the note up, and it read, "My dear Christine, if you are reading this, then I know that you have had an accident. I hope that you are okay, and I don't want you to worry about anything. Even if it's your fault, don't worry about it. All is forgiven. Love," and her husband signed it. And of course, the tears did start flowing then. What a beautiful gesture that is. A gesture that tells us that even before we make a mistake, we are forgiven. That there's mercy. Even in the midst of our own guilt, there's mercy. Well, that's really the story of the gospel, isn't it? The story of the gospel is the story of a God who loves us. And even before we knew we needed it, He provided grace for us. The grace of God is almost defies description. The Apostle Paul stated in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 that God's grace is sufficient for me. For my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. In the theology of the Methodist, we speak of God's grace quite a bit. We talk about God's justifying, sanctifying grace. But we also speak of God's prevenient grace. The grace of God that goes before us, preparing the way. Even before we know we need God's grace, God is already there. Isn't that really an amazing thing? You see, we tend to think about God having a past and a future. But God only has a present because God is eternal. He's not hemmed in by finitude. He's not hemmed in by a birthday or a death day. God is. God simply is. And wherever we find ourselves in life, God is already there, fully present with us all the time. His grace is sufficient. And His grace is unmerited. That's the definition of grace. It's fully unmerited, fully given, undeserved, unearned, simply given. It's almost as if we go through life and we open up the glove compartments of our lives in those moments when things go wrong, and there's the note. And God says to us, if you're reading this, I know something went wrong, but I want you to know that I still love you. I want you to know that I have made provisions to forgive you. I want you to know that my grace is sufficient. I hope that's a meaningful thought for you as you head into this weekend. I know of nothing more beautiful in thought or in deed, in fictitious stories as well as live reality, than the wonderful grace of God. It truly is amazing. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, and I've enjoyed sharing a brief thought with you this morning. And let me remind you to please remember to hit the bell and subscribe, and so that you'll be notified when other versions of or episodes of Fridays with Francis comes up. And have a great weekend. Go with God and go in peace. I come to the Father, I come to the Son, I come to the Spirit, the three in one. I come to the water, just as I